Hello and welcome back to the channel. In this video, we'll take a look about how you can play a game in Middle-earth platform. As we saw in previous videos, you have two players, one player and custom buttons here. That is what we will use to play a game. I usually use the custom game button, and here you can put different names for your game. This is just for flavor. You can select the format of the game, the number of players, and if you want to allow watchers or not on the game. We will just remove this for this test and create a game. You will see this screen. This is the first player and getting ready before they select deck. Okay, so here is our opponent, which is also getting ready. We'll select one deck. As we saw before, we can select decks from our collection of our own decks, or we can use a shared deck from the community. For this video, we'll use just some challenge decks. So you select yours, and then you are ready for starting, and we will wait for our opponent, which will also play with a challenge deck. As soon as he select his deck, the game will start, and we change to the play game screen. You can see that the upper menu has changed a little bit. So first of all, we will review all the interface here and then how we interact with the cards. You have this button on the upper left side of the screen, which is just for making rolls. You can see our default dice. We can change it here, or if we have selected a specific pair of dice for this specific deck, then that will be the dice that the platform shows you. Then you have the map button. Here you can see all the regions, and if you click in any of them, you can see how the sites on that region shows. The shortcut is the letter M. Then you can declare all the 6 phases of the game. You can make it by just clicking here or just using your keyboard, as long as you are out of the chat, and displays in the upper left side of the screen. It will show the most relevant events of the game. Then you have the end of turn button, which is number E. The key E, just to show your opponent that you have end all your actions on your turn, and it will also ring a sound for awareness. You have untap all, which is a very useful button to untap all your cards when you are on your untap phase. The shortcut is letter U. You can search for a card. Here you have the same filters that you have in the cards section of the platform, and here you can look for anything you want. For example, balance. Let's see what we have here. Balance between powers and the balance of things. Okay, we'll see later how we interact with these cards, okay? Then you can show your deck list. Here you have it, and you have also access to the explanation of the deck in case you bother to fill in this section of the deck, of course. You can pause your game. If you pause your game, you can go back to the lobby and recover your game later, or you can finish the game. We will see that button a little later in this video, and you can, of course, exit to the hall. And finally, you have this little button here, which will sync your browser with the server, just in case anything strange happens during the game. Then you can see here all your card decks. You have your play deck, your pool, the space for your discard pile now is empty. We will fill it during the game, and your sideboard and location deck. Here you have the thumb. You can move it wherever you want. I don't recommend putting the zoom here because you will miss the important events of the game that will be just under that card. So maybe this place or this place would be the best for the zoom. You can, of course, increase or decrease the size of the card to just fit it to your best preference. Okay, here we have the marshalling point counter. You can reduce it. So here you see the two avatars of the people playing the game, the number of cards in the hand of each of the players, and the marshalling points that each of the players has on the table. This is the reduced view. You can make the complete view with it's separated into categories, so characters, allies, factions, items, miscellaneous, and kill points, and also final modifiers. For example, when you lose your wizard or ring wraith, it's -5 points, so it will be in this place. And here you have the tournament points. The platform will count the marshalling points of each player on the table automatically, and he will tell you the tournament points that will be counted at the end of the game with that specific set on the board. Down here, you can just eliminate or show the chat, the game chat, and also the main chat. By default, you see the game chat. You can activate the persistent mode, so each time you press any key, it will be directly in the chat, or just leave it non-persistent, so specific keys like C, like U, like E will trigger specific events. So for example, if you press E, you will end your turn. If you have the persistent chat, if you press E, you just write E here. Okay, so keep it in mind if you are playing only with chat. And of course, you can make it small, medium, large, or just remove it completely. I recommend keeping at least small, so you can see the events that are happening on the game. Someone taps a card, someone makes a roll dice, a dice roll, or whatever. Okay, and here you can mute or unmute sounds. You can change the background of the game and also change the dice that you are using. And here you have two cursors that will allow you to increase or decrease the zoom on the table and move left or right. Okay, so everybody can see everything on the table. This icon here is just to make your screen full size, just right now. Okay, so in the game you can interact with specific cards, or you can interact with specific groups of cards, so piles of cards. When you start your game, you will want to check your pool. So just right-click on it, and this is the cards that are on your pool. If you right-click on any of them, you see the actions that you can make with them. So you can play it face down, which will be the default action when drafting the characters. You can put it in the top of the play deck or remove it from the game. Okay, so that will be the only actions that you do with cards in your pool. So, for example, if we start the game, we'll play Aragorn face down. Our opponent will make something similar. So this will be the default setup. So now we just reveal our options. They are challenge deck, so they won't interfere with each other. Okay, so just to complete our game without wasting so many time, we'll play everything and just see how we can handle the cards on the table. Okay, this is our cards. Now our opponent will play his own characters. Okay, you see when when the last card of the pool is removed, either going to the play deck or out of the game or to the table, the pool will just disappear. But we can make it appear again if we send something to the pool. Okay. Okay, that's all. So we'll start by interacting with specific cards. You have some shortcuts to use, but if you have any doubt, just right-click on the card and you will see all the actions that you can make with this card. They are divided into groups, so here is the movement of that individual card. You can tap or untap, which will be the middle click. You can tap a key tap. You see the small lock here, so that means, for example, if you tap all our characters and then push the untap all button, it will untap all except from the cards that we ordered to keep just on tap. If you manually untap it, that lock will be removed. And you can also invert the card. So this is a wounded character. If you middle click it, it will become tapped. If you middle click it again, it will become untapped. Okay, this is the first group. Then you have a group which is attached to. In this game, you usually attach card to other cards. For example, in this case, Faramir is controlling this elf stone, so we will attach the elf stone to Faramir so they move together. Okay, so we go to this card and right click and tell the platform to attach to. You can notice this small blue border here, and then you click it on the card that you want to attach to. And that's all. You have both cards attached. You can tap them individually, but if you move the upper card, they will move as a group. You can move individually the card from the bottom, but it will be still attached. Okay, so if you want to detach it and just, for example, transfer to Arwen, you have to detach that card, which is with the shortcut D. Okay, and now they are detached, and you can just go here, press A, and then right click on the other card, and that's it. You have it attached and detached. We'll make the same with the cards of our opponent. So as you can see, our opponent has attached his cards too. Okay, that would be the second group. Then you have all the actions that are related to moving that card to some other places of the board. For example, you can put a card in your hand. The shortcut is the up arrow to the sideboard, to the pool. You can discard it. You can put it on the top of the play deck or just set aside. And you can also remove it from the game or play a duplicate. Okay, so the most used shortcuts will be probably put to hand, put in the top of the play deck, set aside, and discard. So these are the ones that you will probably learn by heart. Then you can adjust the score. That you can see here, we have now 7 marshalling points, which are all in the character category, because we have 3, 4, 5 plus 2, 7 character points here. Okay, but we can adjust it. For example, if we lose Faramir, we can just remove from the game, but maybe we want to just let that card to be in the marshalling point pile, but counting 0 point to us? Well, we can just score that card, -1 and another -1. You can see that the icon of the marshalling points on the card changes, okay? And here we can see that we only have 5 character points here. So if Faramir dies, for example, I can just decrease his marshalling points to 0 and put in out of deck, maybe my marshalling points pile, just to remember that Faramir is dead. Okay. Or for example, we have Aragorn here, which is a very good example, because if he dies, you will lose the 3 marshalling points that Aragorn gives you, but you will also receive a -3 marshalling points if he is eliminated. So in this case, we will invert Aragorn, just reduce by 3, so now it's counting 0, and reduce by 3 again because he is eliminated. Okay, so we put Aragorn in our marshalling points pile or whatever you want, and it will reduce your marshalling points in the character section. Okay, because these kind of characters, the same as Elrond, for example, if they die, they give you -3 in character. But for example, if we go to a wizard that should be somewhere around here, we just play Gandalf here. Okay, maybe Gandalf dies. If Gandalf dies, it will be a -5, but not in character section, but in the overall marshalling points. So we can adjust the score, and here we can select which of the players and the final modifier and the section where we will apply that modifier. So for example, in this case, we will apply a -5 in the final modifier for, in this case, myself. So we have the -5 here. As you can see, it's in black background, so it tells you that it's in this section, in the final modifiers. Okay, we can just remove that score, 0, and that's all. As you can see, here it will tell you that this game will be a final 4 tournament point and 2 tournament points for the other player. Okay, here we can select tokens to add or to remove from any individual cards. For example, we can add a token to Aragorn with the Q, or we can remove it with the W, or we can add one custom token. Okay, so you have here different colors and also the most used tokens in the game. For example, if we play a side, it's very common that your opponent plays a river on you. Okay, so you can just a custom token of a river. Maybe the image is not very distinguishable from here, but if you put your cursor on the token, you can see in the zoom that the card related to that token is a river. And you can, of course, create the token you want. For example, I don't know, whatever. Balance again. Balance of things. Maybe this token is not very useful. I don't know. But you can create tokens from any card you like. Okay. And finally, you can reveal or hide any cards, just in case you play agents, for example, or when you play the sides face down before moving your companies. And you can touch a card. When you touch a card, you can see that effect on the card. Your opponent will see the effect too. So if you are playing without voice and only using a chat, this is a very useful tool. You can see that all your actions will be registered here on the chat. Okay, this is how you interact with individual cards, but you can also interact with groups of cards, okay, with piles. So if we go to our play deck and put the right button, you can draw a card, which is the left click. It's very used, but you can also draw 8 cards, 6 cards, and 3 cards just in one click. 8 cards for the beginning of the game, 6 cards in case you are playing with a mulligan rule. Your second draw will be only 6 cards, or 3 cards, which is usually for the Dark Twist card. You can also use the play a card button, which is a shortcut P. This will play the top card of the pile, okay? Everything that you see in this second section will be regarding the top card of that specific pile. So you can play it face down, put in the sideboard, in the pool, discard it, or set aside. And then these 3 options on the bottom, this whole section, it will be regarding the complete pile. So you can look to all the contents of your play deck. This one is the top card, this is the second one, the third one, and so on. Okay, so if we draw 3 cards, for example, it should be Lure of Experience, Tidings, and Noble Steed. Let's just check. Okay, and you have them here. Okay, we'll talk about your hand later. So this is all the options that you can make in the play deck. We will discard these 3 cards. So now we have a discard pile that we can interact to. So all these options again are regarding the top card of the pile. Play it face down, to the sideboard or whatever. And then you have the options to interact with the whole pile. So you can look to all your discard pile. You can reveal or hide the top card, which is used when your opponent plays with Palando or maybe the Great Hunt from Fallen Alatar. You can shuffle all the discard pile to the deck, or you can touch it, just in case you want to draw your opponent's attention on that specific deck. Then you have your sideboard. Sideboard has less options, so you can look it and then interact with the specific cards, okay? If you right-click any of them, you see what you can do with that specific card. This will be probably the most used option, shuffle to the deck and reveal the type, okay? Each time you reveal the type to your opponent, it will be shown here in the chat. So he knows, for example, if you play Smoke Rings, you can only take a character or a resource, but not a hazard. So if you go here and shuffle to the deck and reveal type, okay, you can see here, takes a hero resource card from his sideboard and shuffles into the play deck. Okay, so your opponent knows that you are not cheating on him. Okay, there are some options here that maybe it won't be used so frequently. This will be probably the most used one. And then you have the location deck. You can also right-click, but the usual action is just left-clicking it, so it opens the map. And then if you left-click on a specific region, you see all the sites here. If you are in this screen, you can play the sites face down or face up, or of course you have all the rest of the options that you see here, but usually you will play it or play it face down. You can close, and if you click out of the map, it will be hidden. When you see a side card, the actions that you can make with a side card are almost the same actions that with a resource or a hazard or even a character, but you have a different one here, which is enter the site. This will only write here that you are entering, and then the site's name. Okay, if you are playing only by chat, this may be useful for you. The rest of the options are almost I think almost no, I think are exactly the same as any other card. Okay, we'll play some cards now directly from the play deck, so you can see how the marshalling points pile will work. So imagine just Aragorn has played a Hauberg of Bright Mail, if that is pronounced correctly, I don't know. And maybe Return of the King also. We'll play a faction. It will be Tower Guard. And so an ally. Okay, so just imagine Gandalf has this noble steed. And you have this in your marshalling points pile. So here you can see that the platform automatically is counting your marshalling points. We will make the same for our opponent now. So he will play an ally. Let's see, an item. Action. Let me see. Oh, no factions here. That's strange. Ah, you're there. Okay, so let's say that this thing is this way, for example. So you now can see that we are 15 marshalling points and our opponent is 14 marshalling points. But is this the real marshalling point count? You can use the show final points button here, and then you will see another row with smaller numbers, which will reflect the final punctuation of the game if it ends right now. So right now is the same. We have 15, 15, 14, 14. But what happens if, for example, my opponent doesn't have any allies? Then I have one marshalling point in allies, but it will be double. It will be 2 because my opponent has none in that category. So, for example, if he removes his item also, we will double our item points here. And as you can see, we are still 15 marshalling points and he is 8 marshalling points. So the final result will be 5 tournament points for me and 1 for my opponent. But in reality, we have 18 points because we have double our allies and our items points. So we are 18 and my opponent, which has 8 marshalling points, that's not really true because he only has 3 marshalling points in factions and 5 in characters, but as you cannot have more than half of the total marshalling points in one category, this will be reduced to 3. So he's in reality only 6 marshalling points. So the final result will be 6-0. If we finish the game now by pressing finish game, the platform will tell us that the result is 6-0. Okay, we will go back to the previous position and we will see how the hand works. We'll draw 8 cards right now and you have the same options as with individual cards. So you can play the card or play it down. For example, if you are putting a card on guard, you can move to different places, but you can also interact with all your hand. Okay, so you can reveal your hand. You will see this sign here and this yellow border. Just to remember that right now your opponent is able to see your hand and you can hide it again. You can shuffle your hand Right now, you cannot move individual cards from one side, from one place or to the other of the hand, but you can shuffle your hand. This may become handy if your opponent plays, for example, a Secret News, I think it's the card, where you must show 5 random cards from your card, so from your hand. So you just shuffle your hand and show the 5 starting cards of your hand. How do you do that? By putting cards aside, okay? With the arrow right, you just put your 5 initial cards aside, and then you can interact with this pile, okay? So you can reveal, so your opponent now sees those 5 random cards, and then hide them again and put again on your hand. Okay, you can shuffle your hand to the deck. This will take all your cards, put it on the top of the deck, and then shuffle all the deck. And you can touch your hand just in case you want to draw your opponent attention on your hand. Then you can select if you want to see big cards, normal cards, or small cards, and you can of course put the hand wherever you see more appropriate for you. I'm getting accustomed to have my hand here, but for example, you can go to big cards and just draw it here just to see the images of the cards, because you have the zoom here. You can check it, the text, whenever you want. But this is just a choice, yours and yours only. And finally, you can use the fan layout, which is this one, or you can use the cascade layout. It will move the card where your mouse is on a little bit to the left, so you can see a proper image. Not in the first card, because you can always see the first card. I prefer this layout, but you can choose whatever you want. And we talk about putting cards aside. So when you have an aside pile, you can also make things with that. Just this section about that specific card. You can play it, you can put in different places, or you can interact with the whole aside group. So you can reveal and hide it. You can shuffle aside to the deck, so you just take these cards, put on the top of the play deck pile, and then shuffle everything, or you can shuffle these cards and then put it on the top of the deck, okay? Or you can always touch the whole group. Okay, and I think we have reviewed almost everything regarding to how you can play your game. Because if you are in doubt, you just click the right button, and anything you want to do will be in that menu. If you want to make something and it's not in this menu, then you have to recheck your intentions, because most probably you are trying to do something that you shouldn't. Here you have everything you need. Okay, so let's say we have finished our game. So we click here, and now we see what the platform understands that it should be the final result of the game. So right now we have a 4-2, as you can see here, because in our final marshalling points, this player has 15 and this player has 14, so it will be a 4-2. But let's say you have won by destroying the one ring. Okay, so in that case, your opponent will go 0 and you will go to 7. You can also use the scroll to move numbers. And then if you accept the result, your opponent should accept the result also. Or you can just declare the game undecided. If you declare undecided and your opponent also declares undecided, there will be no record of this game. It will not be a tie. It will be just a game that neither of the players want to register the result. So if I accept here, as you can see here, I accepted it. And if my opponent accepts the result, then the game is over. Okay, you can see here that the game is finished. You can see here the result of the game, and you are still on the table. You can still move anything you like. You cannot interact with the pile, so if you right click, you will notice that you are not presented with the menu in any place, so you cannot see what was going to be the next card, for example, but you can see the final status of the table. So you just click anywhere else on the page, and that's it. And here you can see in the last games that your game has been registered here. And if you go to My Games, Finish Games, here you have it. If you click it, you will go back to the final state of the table. You can see your hand here, only your hand, not your opponent's hand, and all the cards here. Okay, but as we told before, you cannot interact with any of the piles. And that's all. I think I've mentioned it before, but just in case, if you click in any of these last games that you were not involved, you will see the result of the game, but you won't be able to scout the final state of the table. And I think that's all. You can use the commentary section just to ask anything you'd like to know if there's something I did not mention. And of course, enjoy the game, keep playing, and we will see you in Middle Earth.